I traveled with a group from Crestview Baptist Church to Moldova. It's a tiny country between the Ukraine and Romania, 6,000 miles away from Midland, Odessa. I went thinking we were going to give to the needy, but what I found was much deeper than just people in need of the bare necessities. Moldova doesn't look like a third world country. The center of Chisinau, Moldova is always busy. High-rises and churches line the streets. As good as it may look, starving people is a serious situation that attracted the interest of Crestview Baptist Church in Midland, who decided to put a group together to help feed the hungry.
I'm doing God's ministry, and I change just a little bit of their life.
The volunteers from Crestview meet up with Luba Genova, a college student who refuses to ignore the elderly. She and a few volunteers spend their days walking the streets of Chisinau, visiting the elderly and taking them food.
Just need somebody to listen to them, and that's it.
I like their reaction. They just happy.
The Chisinau Bible Church can't feed their people alone. That's why Crestview Baptist Church was invited to provide support to continue their missions.
I mean, you don't meet a single person on this trip who hasn't had some sort of major crisis or major tragedy or going through a lot of strife, and still in the midst of that, they trust God and they're hoping for better.
The plan was for the team from Crestview to take bags of food to the elderly who live near the Chisinau Bible Church.
I've never done anything like that.
The group soon found that they were facing much more than hungry people.
Where was God when I was raped?
Moldova has a dark secret. Inside these buildings, missionaries find stories of pain, sorrow, and heartache.
All the government was just taken from Moscow to.
Life has not always been like this for Olga.
I decided to become a pilot.
She was a parachute jumper in World War II, then a nurse for 50 years. Olga tells the team how her medals and her military jacket remind her of a happier time of service before it was replaced with silence and an empty one-bedroom apartment. Her stories of the past are all she has.
This is a headache.
Before the collapse of the Soviet Union, she had everything. A job, family,
Очень красивый.
money. But now, she barely gets by. Olga's family visits her from time to time, but it doesn't happen often.
It's when it comes.
She doesn't have money to move with them, so she sits alone in her tiny home with no electricity. Believe it or not, Olga is fortunate than most. In fact, there are people worse off than she is.
You live here in Chisinau?
Lala's confined to a chair. Struck with disease, she can barely walk. She can't afford health care, so she's stuck in her apartment, 5 stories up.
And she worked, but now, unfortunately, now it's like fell. Like, they should know Christ, that there is a hope.
Hope is what the team from Crestview brings these people, even if it's just for a moment. Neglect is not the only problem facing the citizens of Moldova. Moldova has a much darker secret, one that oftentimes leads their children into human trafficking. I'll have that story for you tomorrow night at 6. In the studio, I'm Tatum Guinn, CBS 7 News.